Welcome back to the deep dive. Okay, if you thought we tackled complex worlds before, well, buckle up, because today we're not just exploring a universe, we're sort of staging an emergency knowledge extraction from one designed to break your brain.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, we're diving into something that doesn't just, mix genres. It almost weaponizes the clash between them.
Exactly. We're talking about a story that slams together the high-flying world of Eastern Xianxia, cultivating Taoist power, ancient spirits, mystical arts.
Right, all that classic stuff.
And then it crashes that head-on into pure, sanity-shredding, Cthulhu-style cosmic horror.
It's a wild ride.
And here's the hook, the thing that makes it impossible to look away. What if a Taoist cultivator, someone who can literally fight ancient eldritch gods, discovers that the whole fight, the powers, even the terrifying gods themselves, might actually just be symptoms of his really severe mental illness?
And the kicker is, he can't tell which reality is real, which one's the delusion.
That uncertainty, that constant grind, that's the core of this whole thing.
Absolutely. So our mission today, for you listening, is to give you the essential guide, the shortcut, really, to understanding this phenomenon. We're talking about the huge breakout web novel, Dao Gui Yi Xian, by the author Foxtails Pen.
And critically, we're looking ahead to its super highly anticipated Donghua adaptation coming in 2026, which is just called Huowang.
Yeah, Huowang. Right. We're aiming to pull out the crucial info you need, this horrifying dual reality system, the incredibly complex protagonist Li Huang, and the ending, which is, well, it's seriously mind-bending.
All the stuff that made this IP blow up. So if you want to dive into the Huowang animation, feeling prepared, this deep dive is basically your flashlight in the dark.
And central to everything, the absolute core, is Li Huang's condition, his curse, but also maybe his power. It's called a cognitive terrorenzicili.
We really need to unpack that first, don't we?
Definitely. It's this constant, agonizing inability he has to tell what's real and what's illusion. And the novel treats this not just as like a psychological issue, but as a literal, physical, almost cosmic bridge.
A bridge between
the sterile, modern-day White Pagoda Hospital, where he's a patient, and this terrifying ancient world called Donghua. It's intense.
Okay, let's start with how huge the original novel became. It's one thing for a web novel to go viral, but Dao Gui Yi Xian seems to have done something more. Right, it really shook things up.
Oh, totally. It wasn't just like a gradual climb. It was explosive. Foxtails Pen, that's the author's pseudonym, they tapped into this specific type of horror, blending that cosmic dread with really personal psychological trauma in a way that Weblit hadn't quite seen before.
And it's massive, isn't it? The scale.
Huge. It ran on Quidian, the platform, from November 2021 to May 2023. Over 1,000 chapters. We're talking 2.2 million words. It built up this enormous, really dedicated following.
Wow. Usually something that long, you'd expect reader fatigue to set in, but not here.
Nope, the momentum just kept building. And the awards kind of tell that story. It snagged the 2024 UNIP Award for Most Anticipated Adaptation. That's a big deal in the industry.
Okay.
But even internally, on its own platform, it smashed records. It was the first ever book on Quidian to be named both a Phenomenal Work of the Year and one of the 20 Great Glory IPs at the same time.
What does that dual distinction mean exactly?
It signals that it wasn't just a bestseller, It was seen as narratively important, structurally innovative. It basically kicked off this new wave of horror Xianxia fusion stories. It had real influence.
And that influence spread beyond just readers, right? You mentioned global recognition. How did a Chinese web novel manage that crossover?
Yeah, the reach was impressive, and I think it speaks to how visual and visceral the horror is. The sources point out this deal for a 2025 VR experience, get this, at Universal Studios Singapore's Halloween Horror Nights.
Seriously? A VR experience?
Yeah. Think about it, the grotesque gods, the creepy asylum vibes, the mind-bending stuff it translates. That kind of visceral fear, pretty universal apparently. It works just as well for Western horror fans.
Yeah, that's huge validation. And you mentioned one specific group from the book went viral, the Huowang Dao. Why did they catch on so much? Like 60 million Bilibili views, that's massive.
Right, the Huowang Dao, the Sitting Forget Dao, they are fascinating. They're basically tricksters, nihilists. Their core belief is that all of reality is fake, just an illusion.
Okay, cosmic nihilists.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And this philosophy lets them treat everything, even like horrific cosmic disasters, as if it's all just a game or a performance or a lie. And that concept became this huge meme.
Why a meme, though?
Because it gave fans a way to deal with the story's heavy existential dread. through dark humor, through kind of being skeptical and self-aware about it all. In a story where you're constantly asking, is any of this real? The faction that literally celebrates deception and absurdity, they naturally become the most quotable, the most shareable.
Makes sense. Their whole theatrical style, the code names, probably help too.
Exactly. Perfect for short, viral video clips.
Okay, so all this buzz, all this success leads us straight to the adaptation. The 2026 Donghua, Huo Wang. Given how incredibly complex and frankly weird the novel sounds, who's taken on the challenge of animating this?
It's a big team up. Tencent Video is the main producer, which tells you right away this is a top-tier project, serious investment.
Okay, Tencent's involved.
And the visuals, the really crucial part, are being handled by D-Rock Animation. They're known for doing complex 3D work, so the expectation is they're going to use that 3D muscle to really bring the sheer scale and grotesqueness of the gods and those cosmic landscapes to life.
Right, 3D makes sense for that kind of horror. It's set for 2026. What do we know about the format, like episode count?
Yeah.
And that the preview trailer from August 2024, what did that reveal?
Format-wise, looking at similar Tencent projects, we're probably expecting somewhere in the range of 12 to 24 episodes. Standard 20, 30 minutes each, most likely.
Typical seasonal structure.
Right. And that 2024 PV, it was really telling. It showed straight up that they are not backing away from the novel's darkest, most disturbing stuff. You saw the eerie color schemes, the moments of body horror, and crucially, those quick, seamless shifts.
Shifts between the worlds.
Exactly. Between the clean, white, almost sterile hospital and the ancient, bloody, chaotic Donghua world. Seeing that confirmed visually was huge. It means they're embracing the core dual world setup.
Okay, but still, adapting over 1,000 chapters, 2.2 million words, that's insane. The novel leans so heavily on Huowang's internal thoughts, right? His unreliable perspective. How do you even translate that ambiguity visually?
That is the challenge, isn't it? It's this balancing act between staying true to the source fidelity and creating a visual spectacle.
Yeah.
The sources suggest the team knows they have to nail that core horror, the dual world confusion.
So how do they plan to do it visually?
It seems like they'll use the visual language itself to create that ambiguity. Like maybe a doctor's face twists into something monstrous for just a split second, or a hospital corridor suddenly flickers, looking like an ancient temple. Quick cuts, jarring color changes, using the visuals to keep you, the viewer, as uncertain as Huowang is in the book.
But they have to cut stuff, right? With that much material. Where are the cuts likely to happen?
Oh, definitely. Massive condensation is unavoidable. You have to expect major streamlining, particularly of the side plots. The novel delves deep into stuff like intricate cult rituals, complex political maneuvering in Donghua, lots of minor character arcs.
Like a Bailingyo story, you mentioned her evolution was extensive.
Exactly. Her journey takes volumes in the novel. The Donghua will almost certainly have to trim that down, condense those secondary threads, and really keep the focus lasered onto Huowang's immediate trauma, his battles, his descent.
Makes sense for pacing in an anime series.
Right. Tighter pacing for the episodic format. But the risk, and the sources mention this, is that you might lose some of the novel's slower burn. That introspective, creeping, subtle kind of terror might get sacrificed for more constant action and immediate visual shock value.
So the 3D isn't just for show, it's kind of a tool to deliver the gore and the dread more efficiently?
Precisely. It looks like a very deliberate, almost aggressive visual strategy. The 3D allows them to really amp up the grotesque stuff. You know, the twisted gods with too many limbs, the body horror transformations Lee goes through, those sanity-breaking effects, the slimy black monsters, the xianxia.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the sources say they're deliberately showing Huowang's paranoia much earlier, making it more visually explicit than in the novel.
Why do that?
For dynamic animation, basically. Think about it. A character who's constantly reacting to visual hallucinations, even when he's just standing there, is way more engaging on screen than someone just thinking about how they're losing their mind.
True. Keeps the energy up.
Right. It's a trade-off. Prioritize the visual impact, the constant energy, maybe at the cost of some of that slow internal dread.
Okay, let's dig into the foundation of all this horror. Huowang himself. He's not your typical hero who gets powers and fights bad guys. His power comes from his illness, right? Tell us about this heart turmoil cultivator thing.
Yeah, Huowang. He's just 20 years old, and in the modern world setting, he's diagnosed with a severe mental illness, probably something like paranoid schizophrenia with intense psychosis. But in the Donghua world, that same condition isn't just an illness. It's classified as a source of metaphysical power.
A power source.
Exactly. He has what they call the heart turmoil cultivator body type Shinsu. It's incredibly rare, almost like a curse. And for someone with this body type, emotional pain, trauma, fear, and crucially madness itself, they aren't weaknesses, they're fuel.
Fuel for what?
His body literally transmutes psychological breakdown, his suffering, into tangible, mystical energy that can actually alter the world around him.
Wow. So a normal xianxia cultivator gets stronger through like peace and clarity and meditation.
Right, finding inner balance.
But Huo Wang powers up by embracing chaos, by basically tearing his own mind apart.
That's the perfect way to put it. It's a complete inversion. His greatest vulnerability is his power source. The more confused he is, the deeper his trauma, the more potent he becomes.
But that must come at a huge cost.
Oh, absolutely. The cost is his ability to function, to know what's real. And that leads directly to the central problem, this cognitive tear, Renzi silly, that completely dominates his existence.
Okay, we need to really visualize this tear for everyone listening. What does it actually look like for him day to day? It sounds like more than just, bad flashbacks or seeing things.
Total sensory confusion, absolute ambiguity. So picture this. In the modern world, he's a patient, sedated, institutionalized in the White Pagoda Hospital. Everything's clean, orderly, clinical. White walls, doctors, nurses, medication. His supportive girlfriend, Young Na, is there. This world seems to represent safety, maybe a path back to normalcy.
Okay, the sane world, supposedly.
Supposedly. But then, the moment he crosses that tear, consciously or unconsciously...
He's somewhere else entirely.
Exactly. He snaps into the Donghua world. And this place is the polar opposite of the hospital. It's ancient, grimy, terrifying, smells like blood and decay. It runs on completely different rules, a kind of horrifying cosmic system ruled by these Lovecraftian god things called Simming, the controllers of fate.
Lovecraftian gods, okay.
Yeah, and the world is crawling with shisui, evil spirits, grotesque monsters, things that embody bad luck and decay. And in this world, he's not a patient. He has to be a cultivator just to survive. He's constantly running from cults, monsters, and these insane gods.
The contrast is stark. But the truly terrifying part, I think, is what you mentioned earlier, the physical overlap, the bridge. That's what makes it more than just psychosis in his head, right?
That physical overlap is the stroke of genius, narratively. It elevates the horror beyond, is he just crazy? Bull discovers, to his absolute horror, that actions in one world can have direct physical consequences in the other.
How does that work? Give us an example.
Okay, the classic one. He's in the White Pagoda Hospital. A nurse gives him his medication, maybe an antipsychotic pill. He swallows it. Instantly, back in the Donghua world, where he might be in the middle of a fight, he can suddenly spit out a thick cloud of toxic, paralyzing poison fog.
Whoa. So the pill he took in the hospital becomes a weapon in the other world.
Exactly. The chemical properties somehow translate across the cognitive tear. The very act of seeking treatment, of taking his meds in the sane world, directly empowers him, gives him a terrifying new weapon in the insane world.
That creates an impossible situation for him.
It's an inescapable loop of madness. Every time he takes his medicine hoping to get better, he gets tangible proof that the Donghua world is real enough to be affected by modern drugs, even if it's in this twisted way.
So he can't trust the doctors because trying to heal him just makes him a better monster killer over there.
Precisely. And he can't trust his own senses because they're constantly feeding him contradictory information. Is the hospital real, or is Donghua real? Or are both real? This constant conflict is what keeps that cognitive tear ripped wide open.
Let's map out his mental decline, because it seems like his power level is directly tied to how broken his mind is. He doesn't just start out completely fractured, right?
No, it's a progression, meticulously tied to specific traumas. Phase 1 really kicks off after his first major betrayal. His mentor, this evil cultivator named Dan Yangzi, tricks him. When Li manages to defeat Dan Yangzi, the trauma is so intense.
It leaves a mark.
A literal psychic mark. Dan Yangzi doesn't just vanish. Li starts hearing voices of the dead. And worse, he sees Dan Yangzi's mangled corpse staring back at him whenever he looks in a mirror. That's his first persistent major hallucination, a visual anchor to that initial betrayal.
Okay, so betrayal leads to hallucinations. Then it gets worse.
Much worse. Phase 2 is triggered by what he perceives as the death of Bai Ling Miao. We'll get into the specifics later, but it's a devastating event he feels responsible for. The guilt and loss push him over another edge.
How does his perception change then?
It escalates dramatically. He's not just seeing one ghost in the mirror anymore. Now he's seeing ghosts, shisui, monsters, constantly, 24/7. The Donghua world isn't just bleeding through, it's overlaying his modern reality almost completely. He's living in perpetual terror, total instability.
And then the final stage, the one they showed in the PV, where he seems to split apart.
Phase 3. The trigger here is this terrifying revelation he learns. His body isn't just susceptible to madness. It's actually some kind of cosmic vessel, meant for something vast and horrifying. This existential crisis, this loss of self, causes his entire personality to fracture.
Into multiple personalities.
Yeah. The sources describe him splitting into 3 distinct personas. That PV scene you mentioned, with the 3 versions of Li arguing violently in some kind of void, that's visualizing this total breakdown of his core identity. His power, his connection to these cosmic forces has become so immense, so contradictory, that a single self can't contain it anymore.
So even when he's at his most powerful, he's fundamentally broken, fragmented, pulled apart by the very reality he's trying to navigate.
Exactly. He's a weapon forged from his own shattered psyche.
Okay, these entities he's fighting in Donghua, the Simming, they sound way beyond your standard fantasy demons or spirits. You called them Lovecraftian inversions of Taoist concepts. Let's unpack that. What are these gods of madness?
Right, the Simming. The name itself, it means controller of fate or director of destiny. In actual Chinese folklore, there are deities who manage aspects of life, destiny, sometimes seen as bureaucratic.
Okay, standard god stuff.
But in Huowang, they're twisted into these vast, terrifying cosmic horrors. Think less like Olympian gods and more like Azathoth or Nyarlathotep, non-Euclidean, sanity-blasting entities whose very presence, whose very nature erodes the minds of mortals.
So they're not just powerful, their existence itself is dangerous.
Exactly. They embody fundamental laws of the universe, the Daos, but they operate completely outside human comprehension, morality, or reason. They are the forces of cosmic horror, just wearing a vaguely Taoist mask.
And the biggest, baddest of them all is Season Calamity. Jizai, what makes this one the ultimate threat?
Season Calamity is the endgame. The entity Li is basically fated to confront. Its power is described as absolute. It controls all 5 of the fundamental heavenly Daos: birth, decay, oblivion, chaos, and order.
It controls everything.
Pretty much the entire cycle of existence. It's the architect of universal entropy and rebirth. And its most terrifying power, it can erase someone completely, not just kill them, erase them from every single timeline simultaneously. No trace left, no memory, nothing. It's like hitting the ultimate metaphysical delete button on a person.
That's horrifying. Pure existential dread. But you mentioned a twist, something that makes it even worse on a personal level for Leo.
This is where the writing is just brilliant and brutal. Season Calamity eventually speaks, and its voice is Li Huowang's own voice.
Wait, what?
Because Season Calamity is Li Huowang, specifically it's a future version of Li who completely fails, who succumbs entirely to the madness, merges with the chaos, and becomes this universe-ending entity.
Oh my God, so he's fighting his own future self.
Exactly. He's fighting his own predetermined worst possible destiny. And Season Calamity's goal, it's to merge with the current Li Huowang, complete the cycle, and restart the universe, essentially curing its own fractured existence by destroying everything.
So it's not just a final boss, it's this inevitable, horrifying reflection of himself he has to overcome. How does he even begin to fight something like that? Does he get help?
He does, but the help is just as dangerous and ambiguous. Take the 3 pure ones, the Sanking.
Aren't they like the top gods in actual Taoism, the good guys?
Usually, yes. Benevolent creators. But here, they're diminished. Fragments, remnants of the original creator god, and they're trapped in this place called the White Jade Capital. They're desperate.
Desperate enough to help Li.
Yes, but their help is a double-edged sword. They teach Li this ultimate, incredibly reckless technique, the Slay Dragon Immortal Execution. It's designed specifically to kill a heavenly Dao like Season Calamity.
Okay, sounds useful. What's the catch?
The cost is astronomical.
Yeah.
Using it exposes the user to such pure, unfiltered cosmic knowledge, such raw truth of the universe, that the immediate side effect is almost guaranteed irreversible insanity. It's basically a weaponized mind break, a suicide mission for your sanity.
Fantastic. More madness. What about that cult that went viral, the Huowang Dao? You said they're antagonists, but sometimes help Li. That must be incredibly confusing for him.
Oh, it is. They are the philosophical antagonists, these ultimate tricksters. The name Huowang Dao, sitting for get path, it references real Taoist meditation. But here it means, like, intentional delusion. They believe reality itself is false, a shared dream or illusion.
The nihilists again.
Exactly. And because they think nothing is truly real, they treat everything, even life and death and cosmic horror, as a big, elaborate game of deception. Their goal isn't necessarily destruction, but to prove reality's fragility, to deepen the illusion for everyone.
So why would they ever help Li?
because sometimes his goals align with causing chaos or disrupting the false order they despise. But you can never trust them. They operate using code names, often from mahjong tiles or playing cards. And here's the kicker. Li Huang himself, before he was locked up, he was one of them. His code name was Hongzong Red Dragon.
He was part of the cult.
Yeah, high-ranking member apparently. Which means their nihilistic philosophy is baked into his subconscious somewhere. It's always whispering to him, maybe the hospital is the lie. Maybe the doctors are tricking you. Maybe your girlfriend isn't real. They are a constant source of doubt and paranoia, even when they seem to be allies.
Every interaction sounds like walking through a minefield. Okay, let's switch to the visuals, the powers. The PV confirms some of these. The self-mutilation burst, that sounds graphic.
He is pure body horror, yeah. First shows up around chapter 47. Li's body is this container for turmoil, right? So to unleash that internal chaos externally, he performs these extreme acts of self-harm, specifically slicing open his own stomach. And instead of just, bleeding, the wound gapes open and these massive black writhing tentacles or fleshy monstrous appendages just explode outwards. It's the immediate horrifying conversion of self-inflicted pain into a physical weapon. His psychological state literally becomes a monster erupting from his body.
It's intense. Then there's the more strategic, almost elegant power, the cross-world swap.
Right, we touched on this, but it's so key to his fighting style and the whole cognitive tier idea. He's in Donghua, facing some nightmare creature. He reaches through the tear, effectively swallows his antipsychotic pills from the hospital.
And spits poison fog in Donghua.
Exactly. That concentrated poison fog. It perfectly encapsulates his dilemma. His psychiatric treatment is his chemical weapon. It forces you, the audience, to constantly question where this power really comes from. Is it medicine? Is it magic? Is it madness?
Or all of the above. Then the third one, Red Center mode. This sounds like he just goes berserk.
Pretty much. It originates later around chapter 389. This is what happens when Li's sanity doesn't just crack, it completely shatters. The cognitive tier rips wide open, and the raw, chaotic, cosmic forces he's connected to just surge through him uncontrollably.
What happens then?
For a short time, maybe 60 seconds, he enters this state where he can basically ignore physics. He can locally rewrite the rules of reality. It gives him this brief, godlike, but totally uncontrolled power. Often involves grotesque physical transformations, too.
But it's temporary.
Highly temporary and incredibly dangerous. It's like a countdown clock to total mental annihilation. He can't sustain it.
And finally, this constant visible mark of his state, the season seed.
Yeah, the season seed. It's like his internal lie detector. Tied directly to his guilt and deception, it physically manifests as this black, pulsing tumor in his chest.
The tumor.
Yep. And it grows, pulses with pain, specifically when he tries to lie, especially when he tries to lie to himself, to deny the reality of Donghua or his own actions.
So he can't even find peace in denial.
Exactly. It's a physical manifestation of his connection to season calamity, his dark future self. Every self-deception literally makes the seed grow, pushing him closer to becoming the thing he fears most. When he has this vision later on around chapter 742 and sees season calamity, he understands. The tumor is the first physical sign of that horrifying destiny.
Okay, supporting cast time. In a story so focused on one guy's madness, the people around him must be critical anchors. But you said their stories are often tragic. Let's start with Bai Ling Miao.
Yeah, Bai Ling Miao. She's set up like the main female lead, the potential love interest, but her story is really complex and ultimately heartbreaking. She doesn't have it easy. She starts out as a Yao Yin, remember, a medicine guide, basically a living ingredient.
Like Li was initially.
Exactly. Destined to be sacrificed by that same evil cultivator, Dan Yangzi. That shared trauma, being fellow victims, is what initially bonds her and Li.
But she doesn't stay a victim, right? You mentioned she evolves significantly.
Massively. She escapes that fate and carves out her own path. It's a long journey in the novel, but she eventually rises to become the saintess of the White Lotus cult, a major power player. Later, she even merges with the cult's goddess, Wuxinlaomu.
So she becomes powerful in her own right.
Very powerful. But her relationship with Li, which is maybe his only source of genuine human connection and potential comfort, it gets completely destroyed. Irrevocably shattered by this incident known as the fire burning the Bai family. We'll cover the plot point later, but the emotional fallout is immense. It proves that even their deep bond can't survive the collateral damage of Li's cognitive tier.
Tragic. Okay, next up. The fan favorite, apparently. Li Sui, the grotesque child.
Yeah, Li Sui. Also known later as Huan Pen Ten. She's bizarre, but somehow becomes the moral heart of the story, even though she starts out as, well, a monster.
How does that happen?
Early on, Li is desperate to stop his hallucinations. He hears about this thing, a black taisui, a taisui. It's described as this grotesque, fleshy, almost Cthulhu-like mushroom or growth. He thinks eating it might help suppress the madness.
Eating a Cthulhu mushroom, okay.
Right, so he ingests it. But instead of curing him, the damn thing gains sentience inside him. It starts learning human concepts from Li's own fractured mind, develops a personality, and eventually starts affectionately calling him Dad.
Wait, his daughter figure is a sentient tumor monster he ate.
Yep, that's Huo Wang for you. It's the ultimate symbol of the story's themes, finding love and connection in the absolute depths of horror and madness.
What happens to her? You mentioned her arc is tragic, too.
It culminates in this devastating sacrifice later in the story. It turns out Li Sui is this entity called Xuan Pin, and she's actually her own future self.
Yeah.
Caught in a stable time loop, she deliberately orchestrates her own existence and sacrifice to seal this massive cosmic breach that threatens everything.
A time loop sacrifice. Wow.
Yeah. Li losing her, the one being who loved him unconditionally and completely accepted his madness, it absolutely wrecks him. But it also fuels his determination for the final act.
Heavy stuff. And the last key supporting character, Zhuge Yuan, the mentor who helps after he's dead.
Zhuge Yuan. He's the intellectual and maybe spiritual guide Li desperately needs early on. He's connected to the Sanking, those trapped gods, so he has immense knowledge and a genuine sense of morality. Li really connects with him, sees him as maybe the only truly sane, reliable person in the whole messed up Dinuo world.
Okay, a voice of reason.
Exactly. And of course, because this is Huowang, Zhuge Yuan sacrifices himself in a big battle in Volume 2.
So Li loses him too.
Yes, but also no. Zhuge Yuan dies, but his consciousness persists. As another one of Li's hallucinations, he gets absorbed into the cognitive tear.
So Li's internal team grows again.
Right. But Zhu Yuan becomes the crucial sane voice amidst the others, the militant ghost soldier, the echoes of Danyangzi, etc. He provides wise counsel from beyond the graves, guiding Li towards actual understanding, even as the rest of Li's mind continues to crumble. He's the anchor in the internal chaos.
Okay, we've got the pieces. The tears, the gods, the allies, the enemies. Now, let's trace Huo Wang's actual path through this madness. The key plot points that shape him and escalate the stakes. This should give everyone a roadmap for what the Donghua might cover.
Right, let's walk through the major arcs. We start with Volume 1, The Cultivator and the First Kill. This is where the horrifying ground rules of Li's existence are laid down.
He starts as a yayin, a living ingredient, pure victim status.
Pretty much. He and Bai Ling Miao are basically raw materials for this evil cultivator, Danyangzi. Danyangzi wants to use Li's innate mental instability for his own power. And ironically, to try and control Li's mind so he can use it better, Danyangzi forces him to eat that black taisui creature we mentioned.
The future Li Suri.
Exactly. But that act, meant to control Li, backfires spectacularly. It's what seems to permanently fuse the cognitive tear, trapping Li fully in the Danuo world at first, and really kicking off the main plot. He's stuck.
But he doesn't stay a victim for long. He turns the tables on Danyangzi using literacy.
Huh? Yeah, it's a great moment. It shows Li's cunning, which people often mistake for just madness. He finds Danyangzi's so-called celestial book, basically a fraudulent guide to becoming immortal. Li knows Danyangzi is illiterate, but incredibly arrogant and desperate for power.
So Li lies about what the book says.
Precisely. He fabricates a completely new, false ascension manual based on the symbols, feeding Danyangzi step-by-step instructions that will actually cause him to horribly mutate. Danyangzi, unable to read, follows Li's instructions perfectly and transforms into this grotesque, failed monster and effectively dies. Li gets his revenge using pure psychological manipulation and weaponized knowledge.
Brutal, but Danyangzi doesn't stay dead, mentally at least. And Li needs more power. This leads to that moment where he has to hurt himself psychologically.
Right, this is the pivotal moment that defines him as a heart turmoil cultivator. He finds out Danyangzi's consciousness is lingering as that hallucination in the mirror, possibly helped by the Zhuan Dao. Li needs to get rid of it for good. He seeks help from this organization, the Jiantianxi.
What do they tell him to do?
They task him with getting the eyes of this powerful, evil spirit, a shisui called Liaoyu Shiba. But the only technique strong enough is the Daqian Lu, the Thousand Records technique. And the fuel requirement for this technique is explicit. The user must inflict supreme mental suffering upon themselves.
Supreme mental suffering? How does a guy trapped between worlds manage that?
He makes the most psychologically devastating choice imaginable. The book describes him deliberately switching his consciousness back to the modern world, back to the hospital. He knows his mother is his strongest emotional connection left, his anchor to that reality.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he forces himself into a state where he attacks her or appears to attack her, screaming, "Mom, I can't tell the difference, which one is real." He fully embraces the cognitive terror, the agonizing confusion, and uses the act of shattering that last anchor, the immense self-inflicted guilt and pain.
As fuel for the magic technique in Donghua.
Exactly. That absolute psychological self-destruction translates across the tear into the raw power needed to fuel the Da Qian Lu technique and defeat the Jisui. He wins in Donghua, but the cost is shredding his sanity and probably destroying his relationship with his mother in the real world. It's the perfect, awful illustration of how his power works.
And the trauma just keeps piling up in Volume 1.
It does. After dealing with the Jisui, he's still plagued by the Danyangzi hallucination. Desperate for a final end, he somehow drags Danyangzi's mental remnant into the realm of the Simi themselves by Yujing for final confrontation.
He goes to the gods' realm.
Yeah. Big mistake initially. He gets completely overwhelmed by the raw cosmic knowledge radiating from the Simi Batwi, basically the cosmic bureaucracy. The sheer information overload kills him.
He dies.
Temporarily. He resurrects, but fundamentally changed. He's absorbed some essence of the Taoist, the fundamental laws. This near-death or actual death experience in the heart of cosmic power is what truly kicks off his path as a cultivator who draws power from that madness.
Okay, moving into Volume 2. The Hallucination Brigade. His internal landscape gets crowded now.
Very crowded. After the Baiyujing incident, his mind is even more unstable. He ends up fighting and killing this warrior character, Peng Longtang. And immediately, Peng Longtang's consciousness just sticks around in Li's head as another persistent hallucination, this one super militant, always advising him on combat tactics.
So now he has a ghost general in his head.
Pretty much. And around the same time, he actively seeks out more of that Black Tai Sui stuff, maybe hoping to control his visions better. But instead, the one he eats gains sentience, and he ends up naming her Li Sui, starting that bizarre, touching father-daughter relationship. His internal brigade is forming. This
volume also has the great tragedy you mentioned earlier, the fire incident with Bai Lingmiao's family.
Yeah, this is arguably the emotional low point of the entire story. It's devastating. While Li is back in the modern world reality, he's under immense psychological stress, has a severe psychotic episode, and accidentally starts a fire.
And because of the cognitive tear.
That fire translates instantly across the tear into the Donghua world. And it tragically burns down Bai Lingmiao's family home, killing her family.
Oh, God. And he caused it.
Accidentally, yes. His mental breakdown in one world caused catastrophic physical destruction in the other. This act, born from his illness, doesn't just hurt their relationship, it shatters it beyond repair. It cements his guilt and proves horribly that his very existence, his condition, is a danger to everyone he cares about. There's no coming back from that easily.
After such a low point, does he find any stability? You mentioned Zhuge Yuan.
Right after this tragedy, he meets Zhuge Yuan, the follower of the Sanking. They form a genuine bond, a heart friendship. Zhuge Yuan offers real wisdom. But then, during a massive battle involving another Siming called Dunu, Zhuge Yuan sacrifices himself to save others.
Another loss.
Yes, but again, not entirely. Zhuge Yuan's consciousness is absorbed into Li's cognitive tier, becoming the final member of the hallucination brigade. And crucially, he becomes the wise, guiding, relatively sane voice among the madness in Li's head. His presence allows Li to finally start what the novel calls true cultivation, Eugen, attempting to actually channel and understand the chaotic power, rather than just being swept away by it, using Zhuge Yuan's guidance.
The scale just keeps getting bigger. Volume 3. The Foolish Emperor. Now, it's not just personal madness, it's the world itself breaking down.
Exactly. The stakes become cosmic. There's this event, Tiango Shiri, this celestial dog eats the sun. It's this impossibly long, reality-bending eclipse that proves the fundamental laws of the Donghua world are failing.
Yeah.
Time and space are becoming unstable.
And the Zhuang Dao, the trickster cult, they see this as party time.
Basically, yeah. Maximum chaos is their goal. Their leader, Tuzi, whose name means dice, launches this incredibly complex scheme. They manipulate the imperial succession in the Danyang Empire.
Why mess with politics?
Their aim isn't just political power. It's to destroy the empire's Longmai, the dragon vein. Think of it as the world's metaphysical energy grid, the ley lines that maintain reality's structure and keep the seeming somewhat contained. If the dragon vein breaks, Donghua dissolves into primordial chaos.
So Li has to get involved in saving the world's stability.
He and the Jian Tianxi organization are forced to act. It's a desperate gamble. They find this seemingly simple, maybe even foolish young man named Gao Zijian, whom Li had met before. Plot twist. Turns out Gao Zijian is actually the long-lost emperor of another nation, Dao Gui, who just had amnesia.
Seriously, an amnesiac emperor.
Yep. So Li helps orchestrate things so that Gao Zijian is installed as the new emperor of Daliang. This unexpected move, merging the destinies or imperial lines, manages to stabilize the collapsing dragon vein just in the nick of time. The world is saved from immediate dissolution.
And this act, saving the world structure, elevates Li's own status, right?
Massively. By intervening on such a cosmic scale, by basically imposing order through sheer will and manipulation, Li fundamentally changes his own nature. He channels the power and fear generated by the crisis and essentially claims a place among the Simming. He designates himself the Simming of Huowang confusion or bewilderment.
He becomes a god of confusion?
Sort of. And in doing so, he earns the cosmic name Jizai, which terrifyingly is the same name as seasoned calamity. It positions him as this counterforce, not necessarily good, but the force of structured chaos and confusion standing against the absolute entropy represented by his future self. He's now officially a player in the cosmic game.
Which leads directly into Volume 4, the War of Projections. The war between these cosmic forces breaks out, and the hospital becomes the battlefield.
Exactly. The conflict escalates onto both planes simultaneously. In Dannuo, there's open war declared by the Feijiao, who worship a Simming called Yurshen. But the really mind-bending part happens in the modern world.
What happens there?
Liu starts encountering other patients in the White Pagoda Hospital, specifically Qin Wanglai, Qin Fu, and Chen Hongyu. And he realizes they aren't just patients. They are the psychic projections of the other Simming gods he's fighting in Dannuo. The hospital is the physical space where the consciousnesses of these cosmic entities are interacting, maybe even battling.
So the other patients are gods in disguise, or aspects of them.
Something like that. It forces Li to adapt again. His true cultivation, drawing power from raw madness, is becoming too dangerous, pushing him towards becoming seasoned calamity too fast.
So he needs a different approach.
Yeah, he has to start incorporating shujia, which means false cultivation. He draws on the deceptive techniques, the trickster mindset he learned back when he was Hongzong in the Zhuang Dao. He has to use both genuine madness and calculated illusion, constantly balancing them, just to hold his fragmented self together as this multi-level war rages.
And this volume contains the big emotional gut punch, Li Sui's sacrifice.
Oh man, yeah. It's brutal. Li, in a desperate move, opens a gate to Baiyu Jing, the Simming realm. But this allows another entity, Peshing Tian, described as this formless, horrifying cosmic entity from outside their reality to invade.
An outside threat.
Exactly. And the only way to seal the breach is for Li Sui to sacrifice herself. And this is where the time loop reveal happens. She is Swan Pin, her own future self, and she knew this was her destiny all along. She orchestrated her own brief existence and loving relationship with Li, knowing it would end like this, to save the universe.
That's incredibly tragic and complex.
It absolutely devastates Li. Losing his daughter, the one pure thing born from his madness, who chose her fate out of love for him in the world. It breaks him. But it also steals his resolve for the final confrontation.
Which brings us to Volume 5 and the grand finale, the end of madness. Who's the final big bad?
The ultimate antagonist turns out to be the Siming of Secrets. Remember the trapped gods who gave Li the crazy technique? One of them, or their collective will, and their projection in the modern world. It's that patient, King Wanglai.
The patient is the final boss.
Essentially. Sanking King Wanglai starts systematically eliminating the other Simming projections, the other patients, trying to consolidate all the Tiandao, the fundamental laws of reality, under his control. He genuinely thinks this is the only way to save the collapsing Dannuo world, by imposing his own absolute order, a well-intentioned tyrant.
So Li has to defeat him to truly save the world.
Right. Li manages to defeat Sanking. But the battle, the whole cosmic war, has taken its toll. The Dannuo world itself, its consciousness, is dying. And this is where the brilliant twist happens.
The role reversal.
Exactly. The consciousness of the dying Dannuo world. All along, it's been projected into the modern world as Li's main doctor, Dr. Yi Donghua.
His doctor is the world.
Is the consciousness of the world, yeah. So when Li defeats Sanking, Dr. Yi is physically fading away in the hospital. And Li, now the Siming of confusion, holding all this cosmic power, makes this incredible choice. He doesn't keep the power. He gives it back. He returns all the stolen or accumulated Tiandao, all the fundamental laws, back to the Donghua world, restoring it, saving it from dissolution.
He saves the world by giving up the power. What does he keep?
He only keeps the Tiandao of Huowang confusion, his own domain.
And then uses that power for one last act.
The ultimate act of self-sacrifice, but it's psychological. He uses his power of confusion to perform one final master trick on himself. He completely severs his own connection to the Donghua world. He convinces himself utterly and totally that the entire epic journey, all 5 volumes, all the horror, all the gods, Li Sui, everything was just a hallucination.
Yeah.
A symptom of the mental illness he's now finally cured of.
He erases his own truth to find peace.
Exactly. He sacrifices his knowledge, his awareness of the world he saved.
So the story ends with him waking up in the hospital thinking it was all a bad dream.
He wakes up, seemingly cured. Everyone tells him the nightmare is over. But the camera basically shifts perspective. Now we follow Dr. Yi Donghua.
The doctor who is secretly the Donghua world's consciousness.
Right. Dr. Yi is now stable, conscious, aware, because Li saved his world. But as he looks around the hospital, he sees the new staff members. And they are the projections of the seemingly defeated King Wanglai, the others. Now they're just normal, cured patients living mundane lives, completely unaware of their cosmic past.
Oh, wow. So Dr. Yi is now the only one who knows the truth.
He's the sane one burdened with the mad truth that this horrifying other world is real and the gods walk among them and no one else remembers or believes. The burden of knowing has been transferred from Li to his doctor. Li found peace through forgetting. Dr. Yi finds torment through remembering.
A chilling reversal. And what about the Huo Wang in the Donghua world? The one who gave up his mind?
In the now saved, pristine, stable Donghua world, the physical Li Huowang exists, but as an empty shell. Having given away all his knowledge, his awareness, his sanity to save the place, he's left truly, mindlessly insane, just wandering this perfect world he created.
Is that just it? A bleak ending for him there?
Almost. There's this final, heartbreakingly beautiful moment. He sees the ghost, or maybe a memory, of his daughter Li Sui. And seeing her grants him one single moment of perfect, genuine peace. In that peace, he finally ascends, fully becoming Jizai, the god of confusion, eternally balanced, maybe trapped between both realities. A peaceful but eternally mad savior. Hashtag tag outro.
Wow. Okay. That journey from tormented patient to cosmic god powered by madness, ending in this act of ultimate self-trickery. It's just breathtaking. You can absolutely see why Huowang is such a phenomenon and why the adaptation is so anticipated.
It really is something else.
So let's boil it down. The key things for you, the listener, to take away as you prepare for the 2026 Donghua.
Okay, number 1. Remember the core fusion. It's xianxia-cultivation, but the fuel is Cthulhu-level sanity breaking. Number 2. Li Huowang, the heart turmoil cultivator. His pain is his power. His weakness is his strength.
And number 3.
The central philosophical gut punch. That idea that holds the whole thing together, the line they absolutely have to nail in the Donghua. Both worlds are real, both are lies. Li Huowang is the lie that holds them together. That ambiguity is everything.
Yeah. That's the core conflict distilled. And the target audience seems clear. Older teens, young adults, people who like horror, who like xianxia, but want something with more thematic weight than just power levels.
Definitely. That 1830 range. And the Donghua's success internationally probably hinges on capturing that unique visual style we saw in the PV, those seamless, jarring world shifts, the grotesque designs, but also
the emotional core.
Exactly. D-Rock Animation and Tencent need to make sure the 3D spectacle serves the story. We need to feel the weight of Li Sui's sacrifice. We need to feel the tragedy of Bai Ling Gao's broken relationship. If they nail the emotional devastation alongside the cosmic horror and gore, yeah, it could be a massive global hit.
It all leads back to that ending, though, that final act. Li Sui chose ignorance, essentially. He bought his sanity in one world by forgetting the truth, while condemning his real self, the savior of Donghua, to this peaceful, mindless insanity.
Which leaves us with a really unsettling final thought to chew on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If knowing the truth, if gaining cosmic knowledge only leads to unbearable suffering, and the only way to find peace is through deliberate, total self-deception, then what's the actual value of truth in a universe like this? Was Li Huowang's final choice embracing confusion, tricking himself? Was that a tragic failure? Or was it maybe the only rational, even heroic choice possible when faced with that kind of cosmic horror? It completely flips the script on the usual xianxia goal of enlightenment, doesn't it?
It really does. It redefines what sanity even means and what salvation might cost. An incredible narrative. Thank you for guiding us through that cognitive tear. It was a trip. We'll definitely be watching for Huo Wang in 2026.
My pleasure. Yeah, keep an eye out for it. It promises to be unforgettable, one way or another.